In the previous presentation, we had discussed conjunctive normal form and we have seen how to convert a formula into conjunctive normal form. This presentation, we will be discussing clausal form, 3CNF and resolution. So, the contents of this presentation is like, we will start with clausal form, then we will see what empty clause is and what an empty set of clauses is. Then how to convert a formula in CNF to 3CNF, and we will discuss resolution and the resolution procedure. So to start with, we will start with clausal form. And before we move on to clausal form, you need to know certain definitions, like what a clause is. A clause, it is a set of literals. A clause is a set of literals. Say a set PQ is a clause. A clause is considered to be an implicit disjunction of its literals. That is, suppose your clause is, say, set PQR. It is considered implicitly as P or Q or R. Okay, so a clause is considered to be an implicit disjunction of its literals. A unit clause, it is a clause consisting of exactly one literal. Okay, there will be only one literal in a unit clause. An example is like, say, set P. It is a unit clause. The empty set of literals is the empty clause. And to denote empty clause, we have a square notation. So, in an empty set of clauses, there will be no literals, or it will be an empty set of literals. Okay, and a formula in clausal form is a set of clauses. A formula in clausal form will be a set of clauses, and a formula is considered to be an implicit disjunction of its clauses. See, a formula is represented in conjunctive normal form as, say, P or Q and say P or Q or R, right? And this formula, when it is represented in the clausal form, it will be written as set PQ, comma, set PQR. Okay, and that is actually considered as an implicit conjunction of the clauses. And a formula that is an empty set of clauses is denoted using the notation null or phi. And a clausal form, it is actually a notational variant of CNF. It is a notational variant of CNF. Now, we will see the clausal form of a formula. Every formula phi in propositional logic can be transformed into an equivalent formula in clausal form, into a logically equivalent formula in clausal form. For example, let us consider this formula. See, in this formula we have P or R and negation P or negation Q or negation P or Q, and P or negation P or Q or P or negation P, and we have R or P. Okay. To represent this in clausal form, see, each disjunction we will represent it as a clause. Okay, each disjunction will be represented as a clause. So, P or R will be represented as set PR. So, set PR is a clause. Okay, and here we have 1, 2, 3, 4 clauses, right? So, this clause is set PR. This clause is also set PR. So, we don't need to write it twice. We need to write it only once. Okay, so the clausal form of this will be set of set PR, comma, set negation P, negation Q, negation P, comma Q. Then in this set we have P, negation P, Q. This P and negation P are repetitions. We don't need to include that. And this again is a repetition of a clause. So we can ignore it. So this formula can be represented as a set of clauses, So see here, this is the representation of the formula. See here, we have set PR, comma, set negation Q, negation P, Q. And see, in this set again we have P, negation P, Q. The other P and Q, P and negation P, you don't need to include because it is already there. And this clause is R comma P, which is already here in this set. So we don't have to include it. Why we don't have to include it is because, see, this P or R will be having a truth value, right? If P is true and Q is, P or R. If P is true and say R is false, in that case the truth value of this is true. Same way, the truth value of this also is true. It is false or true. That is also true, right? So we need to write it only once. Okay. And see, this formula is actually considered as an implicit conjunction of its clauses. See, a clause is considered as an implicit disjunction of its literals, and a formula is considered as an implicit conjunction of its clauses. This is P or R conjunction, negation Q or negation P or Q. See, these again are doesn't have any relevance because it is already there. The truth value will be the same. That doesn't affect the truth value of the formula, right? So we can ignore it. Okay. So this is how you represent a formula in clausal form. And actually, see, why we need to study clausal form is because, see, in resolution the formula is represented as in clausal form. Okay, to do resolution we need to represent the formula in clausal form. So whatever the formula you have, you will have to first convert it into conjunctive normal form and then transform it into clausal form to do resolution. Now, a formula in clausal form can be simplified by removing trivial clauses. See, a formula which is in clausal form, we can simplify it by removing trivial clauses. So what is meant by trivial clauses? A clause is trivial if it contains a pair of clashing literals. What is clashing literals? If it contains a literal and a negation of that same literal, then we call it a pair of clashing literals. See here, since a trivial clause is valid, it can be removed. Like, see, if we have a clause like, say, P or negation P, P or negation P, this is actually clashing literals. P or negation P are clashing literals because we have P and the negation of P. Okay, and since we consider since a clause is an implicit disjunction of its literals, if we have, say, negation Q and Q in a clause, anyway the truth value will be true, because if Q is true, negation Q will be false. If Q is false, negation Q will be true. Okay, so Q or negation Q will be definitely true. Okay, so we can actually remove trivial clauses without changing the truth value of the formula. Okay, trivial clauses can be removed because it is valid or its value is true without changing the truth value of the formula. Now, if S is a set of clauses and let C be an element of S, C is an element of S which is a trivial clause. In that case, we can remove C from the set of clauses S, and then the resultant set of clauses that you have will be logically equivalent to S, because C will be having a truth value true. So that is not going to affect the truth value of the formula even if you remove C from the set of clauses. Okay, so if S is a set of clauses and if C, an element of S, is a trivial clause, then removing C from S will not change the truth value of S, or it is logically equivalent to S. Now we will see what empty clauses and what an empty set of clauses is. See, an empty clause, as I said earlier, is represented using a square symbol. So this is an empty clause, and we say that an empty clause is unsatisfiable. An empty clause is unsatisfiable. And the same way, see, phi is the empty set of clauses. That is a formula, the empty set of clauses. And an empty set of clauses is considered to be valid. So we will see why we say that an empty clause is unsatisfiable. See, a clause is satisfiable. When will we say that a clause is satisfiable? If there is some interpretation under which at least one literal in the clause is true. See, a clause is an implicit disjunction of its literals. Right. So, if at least one literal is true, then the clause is true, which means the clause is satisfiable. So, clause is satisfiable if there is some interpretation under which at least one literal in the clause is true. So, let us consider I be an arbitrary interpretation. Okay. So, for this interpretation I, only if we have some literal which is true, we can say that the clause is satisfiable. And see, our empty clause does not have any literals. There are no literals in the empty clause, which means that there are no literals whose value is true under I. Right. So, we say that an empty clause is unsatisfiable. Okay. So, we say that an empty clause is unsatisfiable. Now, why do we say that an empty set of clauses is valid? See, a set of clauses is valid if and only if every clause in the set is true in every interpretation. In every interpretation, every set in the clause should be true. Then we can say that the set of clauses is valid. Okay. But in an empty set of clauses phi, there are no clauses that need to be true. So, we consider phi as valid. Okay. So, an empty clause is unsatisfiable and an empty set of clauses is valid. Now, we have already seen what conjunctive normal form is, what CNF is, and we will now see what 3CNF is and how to convert a CNF into 3CNF. See, a formula is in 3CNF. It's very easy. A formula is in 3CNF if and only if it is in CNF, and each disjunction should have at least exactly 3 literals, not at least, exactly 3 literals. Okay, which actually says that every disjunction in the CNF, if it has got exactly 3 literals, then we call the formula, or we say that the formula is in 3CNF. 3 actually indicates that the disjunction should have exactly 3 literals. But see, when we represent the formula in CNF, it is not necessary that every disjunction will be having 3 literals, right? Sometimes the number of literals in a disjunction will be 1 or maybe 2, or in some cases it will be 3, or in some cases it will be more than 3, right? So, what we need to do is, we need to transform it in such a way that every disjunction will have exactly 3 literals. So, we will see how to do it. Now, suppose CI be a set of a disjunction like Li1 or Li2 or etc. Lini. Okay. So, this is a disjunction in CNF. A disjunction in CNF representation. Okay. Now, depending on this value of Ni, we need to perform any one of the following points which we are going to discuss to make this formula into CNF, to convert this formula into CNF. Okay. Now, if your Ni is 1, what does it mean? If Ni is 1, your disjunction contains only 1 literal. Right? Your disjunction contains only 1 literal. In which case, to make it into 3CNF form, you will have to add 2 more literals. Okay. So, if Ni equal to 1, what we do is, we create 2 new atoms, Pi1 and Pi2, and we will replace our formula Li1 with this set of conjunction of disjunctions. Like your Li1 will be replaced with Li1 or Pi1 or Pi2. So, this is one disjunction, and Li1 or negation Pi1 or Pi2 and Li1 or Pi1 or negation Pi2 or Li1 or negation Pi1 or negation Pi2. Okay, so if Ni is 1, you have only one literal in the disjunction, which is Li1, and that we are representing it or transforming it into this form. Here you can see that every disjunction has got 3 literals. Every disjunction has got 3 literals, right? See, now if you represent it in this form, see, the conversion should be such a way that it doesn't change the truth value of your formula. Okay, so if Li1 is true, then the truth value of this formula is also true, because in every disjunction we have Li1. So whatever be the value of Pi1 and Pi2, the value of each disjunction will be true, and when you take conjunction of it, the truth value will be definitely true. Okay, now what if Li1 is false? If Li1 is false, depending on the value of Pi1 or Pi2, the value of the disjunction will be either true or false, right? And since Li1 is false, the truth value of this entire thing should be false. Okay, so we will see that. See, if Li1 is false, and suppose our Pi1 and Pi2 both are having true values, in that case this disjunction will be having a true value. This disjunction also will be having a true value, because here you have Pi2 which is false. This disjunction also will be having a true value because this Pi1 is true, and this disjunction will be having a false value because we have Li1 which is false, negation Pi1 which is false, and negation Pi2 which is false. So the truth value of this entire formula will be false, which is equivalent to our original formula, say Li1. Li1 was for having the truth value false. Okay, so even if you add 2 literals, we are actually using every combination of those 2 literals. So in any one of this disjunction, the truth value will be false, and the resultant truth value of the equation will be, of the formula will be false. So adding 2 new literals will not actually change the truth value of the formula. Okay, so this is the case when Li1 is when Ni is equal to 1, that is number of literals in the disjunction equal to 1. Now another case is like, the next case is the number of literals is 2. You have 2 literals in a disjunction, in which case you will have to add one more literal. Okay, so we are introducing one new atom Pi1, and we are transforming our disjunction, that is Li1 or Li2, into Li1 or Li2 or Pi1, and Li1 or Li2 or negation Pi1. Here again, since we have Pi1 here and negation Pi1 here, the truth value of this formula will be equivalent to the truth value of the formula Li1 or Li2. Okay, only thing is we are transforming it into a form where every disjunction has got 3 literals. When Ni equal to 3, you don't have to do anything, because it is satisfied, because what our intention is like every disjunction should have 3 literals. Now if Ni is greater than 3, which means that in your disjunction you have more than 3 literals, in that case we will have to split that disjunction into multiple disjunctions, right? So what we do is, we need to create n-3 new atoms like Pi1, Pi2, etc. Pin-3. We are creating n-3 new atoms, and we replace Ci by, see here, Li1 or Li2 or Pi1 and negation Pi1. See, Pi1 is here, negation Pi1 is here, or Li3 or Pi2. Then in the next disjunction you will have negation Pi2, Li4 or Pi3, etc. Then the last disjunction will be negation Pin-3 or Lin-1 or Lin. Okay, you will understand it clearly when we see some examples. So we will see some exercises of converting CNF into 3CNF. So the first one is, your Ci is, say, Q or negation P. See, Q or negation P. Here we have 2 literals. We have 2 literals. To make this into CNF, we need one more literal. Our Ni value is 2 here. Ni is 2. So we need to add one new atom, say Pi1, and we will transform this as Q or negation P or negation Pi1 and Q or negation P or negation Pi1. Okay, so it is of this form. Say Q or negation P or Pi1 and Q or negation P or negation Pi1. Okay, so if Ni equal to 2, we add one new atom and transform Ci into this form. So here each disjunction has got 3 literals. Now the next case is here. See, number of atoms here is 4. That is, your Ni value is 4. If Ni value is 4, the number of new atoms that need to be added is Ni minus 3. That is 4 minus 3. That is 1. You need to add one new atom, which is Pi1. And we will transform this formula as P or Q or Pi1 and negation Pi1 or R or S. Right? That is how actually we need to do it. See here, Li1 or Li2 or Pi1, and we have only one new atom introduced. So this will be negation Pi1 or Lin minus 1 or Lin. Right? So that is the case here. See here, P or Q or Pi1 and negation Pi1 or R or S. Now we will see another example. See here, our clauses like P or Q or R or S or T or U. The number of literals here is 6, which is Ni minus, Ni value is 6. So the number of new atoms that need to be added will be Ni minus 3. That is 6 minus 3. We will add 3 new atoms. The 3 new atoms will be Pi1, Pi2 and Pi3. Okay, so the clause will be transformed as P or Q or Pi1 and negation Pi1 or R or Pi2 and then negation Pi2 or R or Pi3, and finally we will have negation Pi3 or T or U. Right? Here you have. Okay, so this is how you convert a formula into 3CNF, a formula in CNF into 3CNF. Now we had discussed clausial form in order to discuss resolution. Okay, so resolution, what is resolution? Resolution is actually a refutation procedure to check if a formula in clausal form is unsatisfiable. Okay, suppose we are given a formula and you are asked to find with the satisfiability of the formula using resolution. You will have to convert the formula into clausal form and then perform resolution if the formula given is not in clausal form. Okay, so the resolution procedure, it consists of a sequence of applications of the resolution rule to a set of clauses, and the rule maintains satisfiability. That is, if a set of clauses is satisfiable, so is the set of clauses produced by the application of the rule. If an empty clause is obtained at the end, if an empty clause is obtained while you perform refutation, then the original set of clauses is considered unsatisfiable. Please do remember, if you get an empty clause, then it is then the original clause is considered to be unsatisfiable. So, the resolution procedure, it actually consists of applying the resolution rule repeatedly. Right? So, what is resolution rule? Resolution rule states that if we have two clauses C1 and C2, if you have two clauses C1 and C2, such that C1 contains a literal L and C2 contains the literal L complement. That is, if you have a literal say P in C1 and you have a literal negation P in C2, then the clauses C1 and C2 are said to be clashing clauses, and they clash on the complementary pair of literals L and L complement. So we can actually apply resolution rule. So C, which is the resolvent of C1 and C2, will be the clause. See, when a resolution rule is applied to C1 and C2, we get, see, from C1 you take off L, and from C2 you take off L complement, and you perform the union of the resultant clause. Okay, so you have C1 minus set L union C2 minus set L complement, where C1 and C2 are the parent clauses of C. Okay, this is the resolution rule. Now, so the pair of clauses, when we will consider an example. Let C1 be A, B, C complement, and let C2 be B, C, E complement. You can see that C1 contains C complement and C2 contains C, right? So here the C1 and C2 are clashing clauses which clashes on the literal C, right? C1 and C2 are clashing clauses and they clash on the pair of complementary literals C, C complement. So the resultant of this C1, C2, resultant of C1, C2 will be, or resolvent of C1, C2, resolvent of C1, C2 will be, from A, B, C complement you remove C complement, and from B, C, E complement you remove C and take the union. So that will be A, B and E complement, right? So from the first set you remove C complement, from the second set you remove C and take the union of the two. A, B union B, E complement will be A, B, E complement. So that is how to apply the resolution rule. And now the resolution procedure. To perform resolution procedure, what we do is, the input will be a set of clauses, and finally after applying the resolution procedure, what we decide is whether S is satisfiable or unsatisfiable. Okay, so S is a set of clauses and we define S0 as S. S0 is the initial step in the resolution procedure. Okay, so S0 is initialized as S. Now, repeat the following steps to obtain Si plus 1 from Si until the procedure terminates. Okay, what we do is, choose a pair of clashing clauses C1, C2, set C1, C2, which is a subset of Si. See, from Si, you choose a pair of clashing clauses which has not been chosen before, and then you compute the resolvent of C1, C2. According to the resolution rule, apply the resolution rule. If C is not a trivial clause, then Si plus 1 will be Si union C. Okay, otherwise Si plus 1 will be Si. If it is a trivial clause, Si plus 1 will be Si. And terminate the procedure whenever C gets is an empty clause. Okay. If you get an empty clause, then you can terminate the procedure. If you are not getting empty clause for any of the sequences, then you can say that the formula is satisfiable. Okay, now let us consider an example. See, this is the set that we need to resolve. This is the set of clauses that we need to resolve. We have a clause P, we have a clause P complement R, we have a clause R complement, and we have a clause P complement Q complement R. Okay, so this is the set of clauses that we need to resolve. Now we will write it one by one. We will number the clauses and write it downwards. So we have P complement Q, R complement, P complement Q complement R. See, this is nothing but we have written the clauses downwards and we have numbered the clauses. Okay, now we will apply resolution rule. To apply resolution rule, what we need to do is take any two clashing clauses, apply the resolution rule. Okay, so see here, the clause 3 and clause 4 are clashing clauses, because here you have R, here you have R complement. So when you apply the resolution rule, what will happen? From this you remove R complement, from this you remove R, and you take the union, you get P complement Q complement, right? So that is the next step. That is, we have performed resolution on the third and the fourth statement, right? Third and fourth clauses, and you get P complement Q complement. Now in the next step, what will we do? Again we need to find a set of clashing clauses and perform resolution. So here we have P complement Q complement. Here the fifth one is P complement Q complement, and The second one is P complement Q. So here 2 and 5 clashes on the literal Q, right? So we perform a resolution rule and we get, see, from P complement Q you remove Q, and from P complement Q complement you remove Q complement. Take the union and that will be P complement. So when we perform resolution rule on 5 and 2, the resultant is P complement. And now we have P here. The first one is P. The sixth clause is P complement. When you take these two clashing clauses and perform resolution, what will you get? You will get an empty clause, right? When you perform resolution on 6 and 1, you get an empty clause. And when you get an empty clause, we can say that the set of clauses given, that is this set, is unsatisfiable. Okay. So whenever you get an empty clause, you can say that the set of clauses is unsatisfiable. Now the same problem, we will consider another set of resolutions. That is, we will take another sequence of we will follow another sequence of steps. Like say, suppose these are the set of clauses. We will first choose say clause 1 and clause 2. Clause 1 contains P, clause 2 contains P complement Q, right? So these two are clashing clauses which clashes on P, right? So we will get Q as the resultant clause. Again we need to find a clashing clause, right? So we have P complement, Q complement, R and Q. So you can perform or you have 3 and 4. Here you have R complement, here you have R. When you perform resolution, you get P complement, Q complement. Okay. Now again you need to find clashing clauses. We again have clashing clauses. We have P complement Q here, and we have P complement Q complement, or we have Q and P complement Q complement. When we perform resolution on this, we get P complement, right? So what happens here is we don't get an empty clause. We get P complement, and we don't get an empty clause. So when we perform resolution, we will have to go for any sequence of application of the resolution rule. If it results in an empty clause, then the original set of clauses is unsatisfiable. So you will have to check for every sequence of application until you get an empty clause. If you get an empty clause in the first try itself, you can say that it is unsatisfiable. Otherwise you will have to try all other sequences and check whether you get an empty clause. Okay. So that is on resolution, and in this lecture we had discussed what a clausal form is. We have seen how to convert a formula in CNF into 3CNF, and we have seen how to perform resolution. We have seen the resolution rule, and we have seen how to perform resolution on a set of clauses to decide whether the set of clauses is satisfiable or unsatisfiable. Thank you.